Okay, so we're back with another rapid game. E4, E5. This time we have the move knight C6. And we get into this, let's go Italian. We can also play knight F6, but I don't really want to get into those sharp lines with knight G5 just yet. So pawn to B4. So we get into, what is this, one of the Evans Gambit lines. So bishop takes, pawn to C3. So yeah, bishop E7 is a very safe option for those of you who want to play against the Evans. If you want to straight up try to refute the Evans, then the more ambitious option is probably to go with bishop to A5. But I think they're both like reasonably okay. I think you have to know what you're doing a little bit after the move bishop to A5. But yeah, they're both meant to be fine. Let's go for bishop to E7. This one is relatively safe. After the move pawn to D4, so we have to play this sort of strange looking move, knight to A5. The idea being we want to get rid of this very dangerous bishop from this diagonal. Bishop takes F7 doesn't quite work. Also, knight takes here is relatively harmless because after takes, I think we just play the move pawn to D5. And so here we don't have to take back with the queen. You can actually go knight to F6, and I believe this might be a better way to do things. Just to recapture with the knight instead, because you don't want to bring the queen out towards the center. Although it's probably fine as well. Queen takes D5. But yeah, this is relatively harmless anyways for black. I can consider maybe sacrificing the pawn with the move pawn to D6, but I guess I just take it back with the pawn. Maybe play D5 later, maybe try to go for this weakened backwards C pawn. Okay, castles. I can take the pawn back if I want. I can also maybe just castle. Okay, knight to E3. Okay, now let's capture the pawn. Okay, captures, we recapture with the queen. Okay, so move pawn to C4. So we can capture here. It sort of improves White's pawn structure a little bit. Perhaps if he takes back with the pawn. Does it improve his pawn structure actually? Because he does have this backward pawn then he has to deal with. So it's not necessarily better unless he can get the pawns rolling. The other option is just to move my knight back to say F6 or B6. There's also knight F4. I'm tempted by knight F4 just because of all the possible tactics on E2 later on. You know, queen takes D4. If I play bishop F6, then I have this knight move in certain positions. I don't know if it's objectively that great, but tactically there are some options there for me. So knight F4. So let's say bishop to B2, I play bishop to F6. If it goes queen to F3, I play bishop takes D4. Let's say it goes rook to D1. Is that any good? I suppose I don't also have to play bishop takes d4. I have other moves, like for example maybe knight to e6 might be an option. It looks tricky at least, so I'm gonna play this move just because it looks like there's a lot of possible tactics in the position. Bishop here, yeah, we'll get bishop to bishop to f6, maybe c5. Yeah, of course he doesn't go for any of this. Very sensible. And yeah, now the knight's looking a little bit silly on this square. Can go c6, play bishop f6. He wants to play knight to d5, so I might need to stop that. I'll stop knight to d5 first, and maybe play bishop f6 next. Bishop f6. So he can't play knight e4 because bishop takes d4. Picks up the pawn. So he does have some problems to solve at least. Like d5, then he's sort of stuck in this pin. So he has to work out how to get rid of that. Yeah, so d5, sensible. Or just play rook e8. Queen f3, I always have knight to d3. I mean, how does he get rid of this pin? Needs to work out how to get rid of this pin. Next I go bishop d7, maybe rook c8. Actually, maybe he takes queen f3. Yeah, this one's a little bit annoying. If he takes queen f3, I sort of have to worry about the knight and the pawn. But he goes d6. So he wants to protect the passed pawn. Understandable. So I can blockade it with bishop to d7. Bishop e6 is also possible. I want to keep an eye on the d6 pawn, so maybe bishop to e6 I think might be better. So keep an eye on the d6 pawn so the queen can't move. c5, maybe I play b6. So this pawn looks very strong, but he has to be careful that he doesn't lose it. Okay, so b6, attack the pawn chain. And the queen has to defend the d3 square, otherwise we play knight to d3. But at the same time, he has to do something about the pawn. So if he takes it, probably I take back with the a pawn. Play b5, b4 perhaps. Okay, so finally tries to kick away our knight with the move pawn to g3. But this might be, yeah, allowing some extra chances. Okay, so maybe we go check. So I have to go check, I think. So yeah, the king goes to this square. Do we bring the knight back and go bishop h3 now? This looks very, very tempting. We also have some other options, perhaps. What else can we do? So if knight here, pawn to h4. We can also get knight e4 in that position. Knight takes, bishop takes. And try to get the two bishops. Looks very good as well. We don't have to move our knight either right away. We could just keep our knight there for time being. We'll also just take the pawn. A lot of moves here. I don't know which one is the best. Okay, maybe I have this option of knight g5, h4, bishop takes, knight e4. Try to go after these pawns, but I do give up that bishop. No, queen d7 is an option. Could just take. But then knight g5. No, but takes, knight to g4, bishop to d4 perhaps. Unless there's some like f4 that I'm missing here, which could be the case. Okay, I'm just gonna take. I don't see why I can't just take. If you can't refute sort of a capture, then I usually just take it and see what happens. Knight a4. Knight 4, I just take it. The knight can sort of reroute back to capture this pawn. Oh, this move but this move now I can play knight to g5 because now the queen's not covering f3, and I can go bishop h3, king h2, knight f3, picks up the queen. Yeah, so now white should be winning. Black should be winning here. Okay, g4. I didn't see that move. I think bishop d4. Very strong square for the bishop. Centralizes this piece. Also, we're preparing the move. Queen takes d6, and bishop takes e3. Knight to f5. I should be able to just take that and then damage the pawn structure. Okay, so maybe is our knight trapped? Not sure. Just play h6. Give the knight a retreat square. Take the pawn. Yeah, white structure's way too damaged. Yeah, just take. Play rook e8. Play queen d7. Capture the pawn. Can we go knight here? Let's go knight h5. So rook here, then we have rook e3. If rook there, I think we still can play rook e3. And then rook takes on f4. Check on f2. Now we should be winning. Okay. So this game, yeah, so we got this line of the Evans Gambit, but knight takes here I don't think is the most dangerous move. So it's much better for white if you play the Evans to go bishop e2 or bishop to d3 and go for these positions after, you know, d6, and then here you can capture the pawn as white. And this can be quite dangerous for black. White does have some play in these positions, especially the knight can find itself a little bit offsided. But in general, it's also very solid for black. In this particular position, I don't think there's much. It can even take with the queen, apparently. It's fine as well, which is actually the most played move. But knight f6 should be fine. And knight takes d5 is, yeah, all relatively equal. Yeah, knight takes e3 was an option just to get rid of the bishop, so the bishop doesn't come to b7, b2. But I wasn't sure if pawn takes was any good. But apparently it's not that good because of b5. Apparently, I would never have played b5 though. It's like a pawn sacrifice to gain control of the light squares. Knight c3, but this looks very comfortable for black as well. Takes. So this was a mistake. d6. Apparently rook e6. Didn't really consider rook e6 for some reason. So after this, pawn to b6, and yeah, white's dropping the pawn immediately. But I thought bishop e6 was also okay. After this, yeah, after this it looks like black gains a clear advantage. There's probably one very interesting variation here, perhaps. After this, takes, queen takes, where bishop d5 check. And if takes here, there's the move knight to e4, which is very interesting, because otherwise the knight would be trapped. So after knight to e4, knight takes, we have to move bishop to d5, and we actually win back the knight with a big attack on the king side, because white's pieces are very exposed. But after knight f5, yeah, simple h6 and give our pieces retreat square, and white's pawns are way too disconnected everywhere here to continue. So I hope you enjoyed this game. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next wrap-up game.